Whenever she goes into the village, some people would begin to mock her because they were always jealous of her. Uma had to stand up for herself. She began to beat anyone who dared to make trouble. Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Uma. She was the only child of her parents, and they loved her so dearly. Her parents tried their best to have another child, but they were unable to. Many people advised her father to take another wife so she can bear him more children. But Uma's father refused because he loved his wife and daughter so much and did not want anything to come between them. Uma's father was a respected man in the village and a very close friend to the king. He had passion for hunting, and most days he would come home with bushmeat of different kinds. One day, in one of his hunts, he was mistakenly shot by his men and he died. His death shattered his family's heart and they never remained the same. Uma's mother lost her sanity as a result of the shock. And not too long, her uncles came and drove them out of the house because her father had no son and they left them with nothing. Uma was just a teenager at the time and barely knew anything about life. She had to start working in order to be able to take care of herself and her mentally sick mother. All her friends neglected her and they began to mock her because they no longer benefited from her. Some called her the daughter of a mad woman, while others called her the daughter of a weak hunter. Uma reached out to her relatives, but no one was willing to help. They told her that she and her mother were going to be a burden to them, despite all the help her father rendered to them when he was alive. All this broke her heart, and she decided to work very hard. She and her mother began to live in a lonely abandoned hut far from the village square. Even rumor had it that the hut belonged to a witch and her spirit hovered around, and so the villagers never went there. Uma started farming and she converted the land to her farm and planted all sorts of crops on it. And when it was time, she would take them to the market to sell and use from the profits to take care of herself and her mother. Whenever she goes into the village, some people would begin to mock her because they were always jealous of her. Uma had to stand up for herself. She began to beat anyone who dared to make trouble. She did it for a long time and soon people became scared of her. And whenever they see her coming, they will quickly run away. One day, a man named Ikenna was taking an evening stroll with his friends when Uma walked past them without uttering a word. Ikenna's pride could not let him go, and so he went and confronted Uma. But Uma insulted him, and when he refused to let her go, Uma punched him. But Ikenna punched her back on the face and she fainted, and blood started coming out of her eyes. When Ikenna's friends saw this, they ran away as they thought Ikenna had killed her. A kind villager saw the scene and quickly rushed to Uma and helped her. When Uma woke up, the woman asked her exactly what happened, and Uma told her. The young man was actually Prince Ikenna, and he was known for oppressing people in the village. A lot of villagers had previously reported him to the king, but there was not enough evidence to back up their claim, and so the king did not believe them. The woman found that to be the perfect opportunity to prove to the king that his son was not who he said he was. She asked the man to follow her to the palace, and she did. Some people also followed them. When Prince Ikenna saw them, he was shocked. They told the king everything and showed him Uma's eyes. The king was so disappointed at his son, and he apologized to Uma and asked her who she was. When Uma introduced herself, the king was surprised because her father was a good friend of his. The king could not allow her to go like that because of what Prince Ikenna had done to her. He summoned some elders and told them that Prince Ikenna must marry Uma, as it would be difficult for Uma to find a suitor in the village after the prince had rendered her almost blind. The elders all agreed because it was an abomination to lay hands on a woman in the village, talk more of almost blinding her. The king pleaded with Uma to marry her son and also promised her that if he ever laid his hands on her again, he would be stripped off of all royal privileges. At first, Uma refused because she barely knew the prince. But when she remembered all the bullying and discrimination, she gave it a second thought because she and her mother would be able to live a normal life again. Immediately she accepted, the king and elders fixed a date for the marriage and ordered the town crier to announce it to the village. Prince Ikenna was furious, but he couldn't do anything because his father threatened to disown him. He had no choice than to accept the arrangement. 2 market days later, Prince Ikenna and Uma got married. Uma became the envy of the village, and all who bullied and humiliated her started respecting her. She felt alive once again, and her mother started living with them in the palace. The king did no longer allow her to go to the farm, and she was given all she ever wanted. But Uma was not entirely happy. She often thought of the misery she might have caused the prince. She tried all she could to be nice to Prince Ikenna, but he avoided her like she never existed. Most of the time, they would argue all through the day, but when they see the king, they would pretend to be getting along. Prince Ikenna hated Uma so much, but he couldn't do anything about it. This went on for a long time, and they both continued to cohabitate. One day, Prince Ikenna was rushed to the palace. He was mistakenly shot with an arrow and was badly injured. When Uma saw him, she began to cry and hoped that nothing bad happens to him, as that was how her father died. All through that period, she took care of Prince Ikenna, and she would always sing for him. Even when the prince was unconscious, he could hear her singing and he loved her voice. Uma did this for days, and she would apply medicine to his wounds all the time. When the prince became conscious, Uma did not stop. She continued to take good care of him till he was fully recovered. The prince was surprised because he thought Uma was not a good person. One day, when Uma had finished putting medicine in his wounds, Ikenna asked her why she was helping him, and she told him that she doesn't like to see him hurt. When Ikenna heard this, he was touched, as no one had ever cared for him that much. When Uma was about leaving, he thanked her for everything and she left. Ever since that day, Prince Ikenna became very kind towards Uma and he started treating her well. Ikenna apologized to Uma for hurting her and promised never to treat her badly again. After some time, Uma found out that Ikenna was just like her. He was bullied by his step-siblings after his mother died. And so he decided to demand respect from everyone and also punish anyone who dared to disrespect him. And because of this, his step-siblings had no choice but to respect him the way he wanted to be respected. Uma felt so sad and forgave him, and they both became very good friends. And not too long, they fell in love with each other. The king was so happy to see them getting along and also seeing his son happy after so many years. The entire village were shocked by how much they changed. Uma continued to take care of her sick mother and not too long she started getting better. Uma and Ikenna's love for each other grew stronger each passing day. And after some time, they were blessed with children and they lived happily ever after. This is the end of this story. Thank you for listening to this story. If you want us to make more videos, hit on the like and subscribe button below and comment which country you are watching from. We love and appreciate you. Bye.